It fears no one. It spares no one. After its passage, it is a guaranteed disaster. Feeling of helplessness. Despair. Hopes. Trauma. Feeling of guilt. Smoke poisoning. Environmental pollution. Obscuration of vision by smoke. Collapse of buildings. Destruction of structures. Burns and loss of life. What if we could have some control over it? Use it just in cooking and heating. In the hardening of wooden tools. Metallurgy. And motive power. Then the world would be different. Session, fire protection. We're going to ask you to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this video to raise awareness. Since most building fires are primarily electrical in origin, in our previous video, we talked about the main cause of fires, which is of electrical origin in building and industry. As a reminder, it's the poor electrical contact. Undersizing of the installation. Overloading on an electrical line or circuit. Let's now talk in this video about the devices to install in your building to protect it against fire and how to maintain these. We will also talk about the practical training of its staff or families on fire prevention. The autonomous smoke detector is a safety element that reacts to the presence of smoke or vapor particles in the air. It is not to be confused with the carbon monoxide detector, as it is not triggered by smoke but by a toxic gas, carbon monoxide. There are different models and shapes. Electronic card. Battery connection terminals. Some detectors are equipped with connection terminals to the electrical network, including phase, neutral, earthing, and a terminal for paralleling with other detectors in the building. In this case, while one detector sounds, it will sound the others simultaneously. Since the smoke rises and goes towards the ceiling, the appropriate location for the smoke detector is the ceiling. Avoid installing it in humid rooms such as the shower or the bathroom so that it does not give off false alerts. For cooking room, it should also be avoided. We put it on everything from the bedrooms to the living room to the living room. If only one detector needs to be installed in a house, the appropriate location is the hallway so that in the event of a report, everyone is notified. To fix the smoke detector, you must first open it. Take the upper part, which generally contains 3 or 4 screw holes. Place it on the surface of the ceiling to make the marks. Fix it using the screw directly or using the dowels if it is a concrete slab. For wired smoke detectors, simply connect the cable and the installation is complete. It must be connected to the installation's single-phase network. How? This is where the single-phase mains cable must be inserted inside. Connect the red wire to phase, the blue wire to neutral and IC for paralleling with other detectors in the installation. The earth ground wire is connected to the ground symbol. After the power off connection, simply close the detector cover, turn on the power supply, and carry out the test by pressing the test button for a few seconds to make the detector sound. For maintenance, each month, you will have to do the test by pressing the button. Given that the sound produced can reach 90 decibels, please wear earplugs or noise-canceling headphones. For every 6 months, you must open the detector and clean the electronic card using a brush or cleaner. For each year, remove the battery if it is not weakened and carry out the operation provided for maintenance 6 months. When the detector beeps, it is either the battery which is discharged or dust which accumulates on the electronic printed circuit. Solution: change the battery and clean the electronic card. Now let's talk about another very important element. It is an autonomous emergency lighting unit, sometimes called an emergency unit. What is this? These are evacuation light sources intended to illuminate and show the location of exits in different types of establishments during emergency evacuation due to failure of the main lighting of a building or dire. For emergency light also, there are different shapes and models. Generally the block is delivered without a pictogram, that is to say the drawings of the man and the direction of the exit. Although the pictogram is intended to be placed or fixed directly on the block, you will need to apply glue so that it does not come off and position the arrow towards the exit. Electronic card, battery, lamp, pictogram. First of all, you should know that security lighting is mandatory inside all establishments receiving public or workers as well as in certain collective housing buildings. Place autonomous safety lighting blocks at each exit from a room and at each exit an emergency exit, at each obstacle, at each change of direction, each change in level. First of all, you have to open it, then take the bottom part of the block. You will generally see the 4 screw holes. Then make marks on the surface to be fixed, ceiling or concrete. Put the dowels if it is a concrete surface. Then fix the lower part of the autonomous security lighting unit using screws. Then replace the other elements such as the electronic card, batteries, lamps and place the pictogram. Here is the electrical diagram of the emergency unit power supply. For the maintenance of the autonomous safety lighting unit, every month, you should schedule a battery life test. Turn off the mains power, ensure that the block light comes on. Leave the power supply off for at least 1 hour. The battery must be able to resist and continue to turn on the unit's lamp. After every 6 months, the block must be opened. Be careful, always start by cutting off the mains power. Using a brush, electronic card cleaner and a cloth, clean the electronic card, the lamp reflector and the lower part containing the batteries. Let's now talk about another essential element, which is the fire alarm system. What is it made of? And what is its role? It is composed of 2 essential elements. 1. The fire alarm siren. 2. The fire alarm trigger. What is the fire alarm system used for? In the event of a fire, the occupants of the building must be notified so that they can evacuate quickly. So thanks to this system we have the possibility to warn quickly and to leave the danger place. This requires common sense and compliance with instructions from each occupant. Hence, every year, evacuation exercises must be planned so that occupants get used to the sound of the alarm siren and develop the safety reflex. Like not hanging around when you hear the sound of the siren. Leave the building immediately. It will also ask to provide a place where the occupants will meet after the evacuation. This place is called assembly point. We will talk about it a little later. As this representation indicates, the trigger functions like a single pole switch. The power supply circuit then includes the electrical cables, a protection circuit breaker, the step-down transformer, which feed the trigger, and the trigger which controls the fire alarm siren. The triggers and sirens will be installed in each exit of the building and in certain corridor locations. They will have to be put in parallel, that is to say triggering from a single location will be able to sound all the building sirens to warn occupants anywhere in the building. For maintenance, every month, you must do the test. That is to say, press each trigger and ensure that it controls each of the sirens. Also check that all sirens sound when any trigger is pressed. After every 6 months, you will need to open each trigger and siren, remove the dust using a small brush. Tighten the electrical contact screws, clean the electronic cards if necessary with printed circuit cleaners. The following point, we will address concerns fire extinguishers without going into detail. A fire extinguisher is a firefighting device capable of projecting or spreading an appropriate substance called extinguishing agent in order to extinguish the start of a fire. We distinguish between fire extinguishers intended exclusively for firefighters and those intended for the general public. Water or foam extinguisher plus additive, blue background label or cap. CO2 fire extinguisher label or cap gray background. Powder extinguisher, yellow background label or cap. Generally speaking, a fire extinguisher is made up of cylinder, wrist, pipe, extinguishing agent, label. To put out the fire, you must choose a good fire extinguisher, that is to say each one is intended to put out a certain type of fire. Class A, fire coming from wood, fabric, paper, plastic, cardboard. Choice of fire extinguisher, water plus additive fire extinguisher or powder fire extinguisher. Class B, fire from hydrocarbons, solvent, gasoline, alcohol, oil, paint. Choice of extinguisher, CO2 or powder extinguisher. Class C fire. Fire originating from natural or manufactured gas such as butane, acetylene, propane. Choice of extinguisher, CO2 or powder extinguisher. There is also Class D fire coming from electrical equipment. Finally, in large buildings, you must train your staff or the various occupants in fire prevention.